Hello, my name is Chris and I'm one of the technical product specialists here at Allied Medical, and I'm going to be running through today on how to correctly measure for a wheelchair or seating assessment. We also have here our Calma Flex. So this is one of our manual wheelchairs. So what we'll be running through is the basic measurements we require in order to be able to complete the script. So important measurements are your client's seat width, the client's seat depth, the back height, the lower leg length, and then additional measurements that do make it useful are the seat to floor heights. So on a manual wheelchair like the Calma Flex, we would be wanting to look at things like the front seat to floor height and the lower seat to floor height. These measurements are important because they allow us to set up the wheelchair in a way that makes transfers on and off the chair easy for the client. So whether they're doing a hoist transfer or whether they are doing a sit to stand transfer. So first off, we will start by measuring Tanya's hip width. So the easiest way to measure this is we're measuring the widest part of the hip. So in this instance, what we would do is we would grab our hands here on both sides of the hips, and so we're feeling for the widest part here. So we can see that we are here, so just grab our tape measure, and we're measuring across the widest point here. So we would have our measurement at 44 centimeters. So the first measurement that we would take and note down on our our measuring guide would be that measurement of 44 centimeters. The other measurement that we're looking for is the seat depth. And so we're taking that measurement from the back of the bottom to the back of the lower leg, so the back of the calf. So again, just taking our tape measure and bringing that down the side here, and then lining that up with the furthest part back of the bottom, and then taking our measurement to the back of the leg. It's important with wheelchairs that we leave a little bit of a gap between the back of the upholstery or the back of the seat pan on a car wheelchair, just so that we're not pressed up hard against that and we're not causing any pressure issues. So in this instance, we would be measuring 44 centimeters as well. So we've got 44 by 44 in both the seat depth and the seat width. The other measurement that we're wanting to then look at is the lower leg length. And so the lower leg length is taken from the underside of the leg down to the bottom of the heel. The important thing to remember with this one is that if they are not sitting on a cushion and the measurement is 16 inches or 40 centimeters, for example, then that measurement is true at 40 centimeters. If we know that the client is going to be sitting on a cushion, it's really useful for us to know, if it's a cushion that we're supplying, then we can provide that thickness. If it's coming from another supplier, then it's useful to know. If it's going to be 2 inches thick, then we would deduct the seat to floor height on our seat plan to foot plate by 2 inches. So if they're 16, we would adjust that to 14. It just means that the seat to floor is correct when using a cushion. So in this instance, all I'm doing is I'm just taking, you're in heels, so we'll do a measurement from here down to the bottom of your heel. So we're 40 centimeters. So in this instance, as we're 40 centimeters, we've already got the cushion on there. So we would be deducting the thickness of the cushion at 8 centimeters. So our seat to floor height is actually 32 centimeters, so 32 from the foot plate to the seat pan. The other measurement that we want to check is obviously the back height. So we're measuring from just the bottom of the shoulder to the bottom in a seated position. So if Tanya was just to lean forward for me slightly, that would just allow me to get my tape measure down there, and then if Tanya was just to sit nice and straight, we're then measuring just below the shoulder, so that's at 54 centimeters. So that's now given us our measurement from our bottom to the bottom of our shoulder, and that's our back height. So that allows us to select either the correct size backrest, or if we're going for a tension adjustable or a standard upholstery on the CalmaFlex, the correct back height. The other important measurements are the widest part of the torso or the upper part of the body, and that just allows us to determine is the backrest width correct for the client as well. So all we're doing here is just measuring from the widest part, so that would be just below the axilla. And so in that measurement there, we are 36 centimetres. Those measurements, your seat width, your seat depth, your lower leg length, your back height, and then the back width, or the widest part of this your upper part of your body, are the important measurements that we need in order to be able to script the chair. The other measurements are your seat to floor heights, and those are determined on how the client may be transferring, whether they're doing a sliding transfer, a sit to stand transfer, or a hoist transfer. Those that are doing a sit to stand transfer ideally are going to like the chair a little bit lower, so that it's not so high for them to be able to get onto. So the important thing there is if we've determined that the lower leg measurement is 14 inches, we generally want around 2 to 2.5 inches of clearance between the footplate and the ground. The reason 2.5 is it just gives us that clearance, either when you're out in the community and you're going up and down in the curb, you've got that ground clearance between the lower footplate and the ground. So if we're setting the lower seat to footplate height at 14 inches, then we would know the seat pan to floor height would need to be around 16.5 inches. Some clients may want the rear seat to floor height to be set the same, so in that instance we just keep it at 16.5. If we're wanting a little bit of seat slope, then what we would do is we would just change that measurement to 15.5, and that would give us 1 inch of seat slope. And those are the most important measurements needed in order to be able to allow us to quote on either our power or manual wheelchair options.